It's the I told you so episode. Sorry, not sorry. Everything we thought would happen, happened. And it couldn't be any worse. So, let's get into it on the Foreign Report. I'm smiling. I am. Welcome back to the Foreign Report, your weekly foreign policy show that gives you all the gory details of geopolitics with hopefully some laughs along the way. I am your host, Seena Ghaznavi, along with Travis Irvine, Columbia Journalism School grad.
That's my new theme song.
Air horn extraordinaire.
Pew, 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 pew. When I'm in studio, I enter with air horns now.
That's beautiful.
My writer. You've seen my writer.
I have.
I need half of a Celsius and air horns.
And broken razors that you won't look at.
No, I can't. Not these days.
Not these days. You got a real Axl Rose vibe going.
Bro, this is an Axl Rose summer. I've been saying it, and I'm going to be living it now.
Because you came in without the hat. You just had the bandana on.
Yeah, well, you know, I like sporting local bands. This is my brother's band in Las Vegas, and that's close enough to us. Yeah.
That is very close.
Yeah. And we were both just in New York.
We were in New York, yes.
Thanks, everyone. I know we had a short show last week.
Yeah.
Viewers, listeners, let us know how you feel about this shorter show. 40 minutes versus 50 minutes. It seems to make a lot of difference.
Does it?
Can people handle 50 minutes of political turmoil? Or is 40 minutes more digestible?
Well, once they stop listing, they have another 23 hours and 10 minutes of it if it's a 50-minute show.
That's true. So
it's constant.
Yes, but it was short because you were in New York.
Yeah.
I was in New York a couple weeks ago, and we were just talking about how much we miss it.
Yeah.
It's Mom Donnie's New York.
It is Mom Donnie.
When I was there, he was rolling out his executive budget on NY1, and I watched. I couldn't look away. He was so charismatic. He was owning every single question that was asked of him. I was like, this guy's got it. And I got to say, everyone's so happy in New York right now. With Mom Donnie. The trash is being picked up. The buses and trains are running. What's not to like?
Cue the comments.
New York.
I was staying at my buddy's place in Fort Greene, and it's picturesque.
I was in Williamsburg.
Yeah, it's picturesque
Green
there
Point.
with the green foliage everywhere. And I walked out to get a slice. I saw this
Love a slice.
beautiful same-sex couple. They were holding hands. They were dressed all hip
Beautiful.
and everything.
Mom Donnie's New York.
Oh, it was beautiful. I saw another couple. This old Asian couple was like walking because it's like a very walkable city. So they probably had like a ground floor apartment, so they don't have to walk up steps. They were probably going somewhere together. And I rounded the corner, and a man got hit on a bike.
Boom!
Just kind of hit.
Mom Donnie's New York. Get out of the way! I'm biking here.
It wasn't a bad hit though. So like people got out, they were helping him.
It was like a comical New York bike hit.
It was a slow bike hit. You know, it was a very slow bike hit.
I miss those, man.
You know, obviously those could be very tragic and awful, of course. But like it was.
But in this situation,
he had a helmet.
It was perfect. Of course, wear your helmet.
But it was like boom, bang, boom. I missed this city, and then I got a slice. I ate it walking because I'm a classy guy.
Watching the people clean up the bike remnants.
I've been in LA here, and they were like, "Do you want it for here or to go?" And I was like, I'll walk with it.
Yeah.
And they were like, "What?"
Yeah.
I was like, "No, I'm gonna walk it."
In New York, you walk with your slice.
I'm gonna walk with the slice. They're like, "So what do you want then?" I was like,
God, I loved it. I love New York. I could never live there again, but I'm really glad we did it in our 20s and stuff like that.
And then you were also in Pittsburgh. The boys had a show in Pittsburgh.
Yes, thanks to everyone. This was incredible. This is, I go to the last podcast on the left live shows when they're in the Midwest, and I do some interviews with the fans in the lobby and stuff. It's like a fun experience. We put it out there on social media, and everyone in Pittsburgh, so many people came up and said they love the Foreign Report.
Wow.
And they're like, where's Seena? And I was like, he's not here. He's being a good dad. Although you were being a bad yinzer, you were being a good dad. But
they had critiqued my yinzing.
No, your yinzer is full. Like everyone was just like, where is he? Why is he not here? If you're here, surely he must be here. And I was like,
we always go places together.
And it honestly made me think that we should, if we get to roll out a Foreign Report live show,
which we will.
My hometown Columbus, your hometown Pittsburgh, 3 hours apart.
Rust Belt
beautiful
tour, baby.
Drive. I forget how beautiful Pittsburgh is.
Yeah.
With the hills, and it was built up by the oligarchs of the 1800s.
Yep.
And they did a great job with it.
And it's beautiful. The Appalachians.
It's like the biggest city in Appalachia.
It's beautiful.
Yeah. So I had a great time. Thanks to everyone who said hi. And thanks to everyone for listening to the Foreign Report.
Marcus Parks texted me when he was there. He says, I'm really falling in love with this city. I said,
so fun.
Stay away from my mother.
Ed Larson, also in the promo, threatened to hang out with your mom. Which I was just like, then I was honestly going to text him. Like, should I drop by your mom's place?
He texted. He was like, texting. He's like, can your mom meet at 9 a.m. at this? I was like, bro, what did you just hard schedule my mom right now?
Yeah. Well, she seems cool.
And then she swiped left on him. I don't know if that's the yes or the no.
I forget too. Yeah, left is no.
Yeah, so she swiped left.
That's great. She's on Bumble. Great.
I feel weird saying all that.
And so's Ed. Wait, hold on. I have a lot of questions. Let's just say
she
Pittsburgh.
chose him. Anyway.
What a town. I love it. Would love to go back anytime, and we'll go back together.
We will.
Because we do travel together when we are asked to.
I would love to do a show, a Foreign Report live at a Permane Brothers.
Oh, even better.
Yeah.
Oh, my God. The good one, though. I was told there's different versions.
Not the suburban chains. I would go down to the Strip District.
Right. That's the one I was told to go to.
Yeah, that's the one. I remember I was home a couple years ago, and I just had to go get one. And I got to the Strip District. I went there. They were just closing, so you couldn't even sit inside. And I just went and sat on the
I'll walk with it.
Yeah. Sat outside on
New
the
York
curb.
and Pittsburgh, they teach us to walk with food.
Exactly.
I don't need to sit to eat. I'm walking here.
But it was just me and like 4 other like half-drunk people just sitting on the curb eating our Permane Brothers sandwich. All right, guys, you didn't come here to hear about all this stuff.
You did, actually. People enjoy the banter.
They love a little banter.
Yeah, I think so.
We'll just give you some updates, folks. We're glad to be back in studio together.
Yep.
But I'll tell you what. Make sure you sign up for the Foreign Report Show's newsletter.
Yes, please.
We're just crushing it. I love that newsletter. It's been so fun to do. Find us on all the socials, of course, and subscribe to us on YouTube.
And meanwhile, in LA today, I just want to highlight, it is election day. It's primary day. You're wearing your voted button sticker.
That's a sticker.
That's a sticker.
It's a sticker.
And so by the time this is released, I'm sure Spencer Pratt will be already mayor.
Jesus.
And it's a wacky, I was just talking to Henry actually about it. California is a wacky election system where it's a wide open primary. Hundreds of people sometimes run for governor. But then the top 2 vote getters in the primary go to the general election.
Yeah.
And that's how it is for mayor for LA as well.
It's very strange. But, an open primary...
I like it. It's like Wild West.
I prefer an open primary. Mm-hmm. I think you got to have all the independent people. It's better political diversity. And you really do have to win properly, I think, anyways.
And
but
because
it's tough.
California, sometimes it's establishment Democrat versus a progressive Democrat.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's a Republican, but they're like kind of a sane Republican. And then, sometimes you just have independents versus Greens in like San Francisco Bay Area. It's really, it's Wild West for me.
The math can really break against you if you have a certain candidate that you like or something, but you wish there was an actual primary. But you know what? You got to win on the merits. All right, let's get into it, guys.
Yes.
If you've been watching the news, and I'm sure so many people are,
listeners of this show would watch the news. How dare they?
Maybe you just let the doom wash over you. I don't know.
I do. I doom. I doom.
You doom wash?
No, I doom wash. Yeah. I doom wash my legs. Well, unlike some.
You may have seen that there's a stalemate with the U.S., Iran, Israel war or threesome, whatever you want to call it. Trump is now
worst threesome ever?
Very uncomfortable. Trump is now very upset. So upset that he's been screaming at everyone. He wants an off-ramp. But like I said in the cold open, this is the I Told You So episode.
The I Told Ya show? Come on.
How are you able to do this?
I am so back.
You get the Ayatollah into everything.
Everything. And I'm getting my beard back, too. For the Ayatollah tour coming your way at the end of June and July.
Cue the comments.
Please.
But listen, I'm going to list you 7 things that everyone said would happen. Not just me. I know it's nice that I said it, and I feel good and awful that I said it.
And you did say it. We have a record of you saying it.
Yes, but I'm not a geopolitical analyst that gets paid to do this stuff. I'm not a historian. I'm not an expert. Right. I'm just someone who reads and is not a complete Neanderthal, okay?
There you go. And we would sometimes do have those experts on our show.
Yes.
And they also said the same thing.
They said the same stuff.
So you were talking specifically about things people said would happen if and when we bombed Iran and went to quote unquote war that's not a war with Iran.
Let me take it a step further, Travi. It is decades of stuff people have been saying. It's not even like new stuff.
Ugh.
It's stuff that people have been saying since 2006, 2008, like years.
Right. Because that's when they first started dangling Iran as part of the axis of evil.
You know, I have an old stand-up clip that I need to post that someone sent me.
I was dusting off my old Iraq war jokes, and I was like, I'm just going to change the Q to an N. They still make sense.
I have and it's a 2004 or 5 set.
Woo.
And
you started early. I didn't really start till 2006.
And I'm doing Iran nuclear jokes then.
Bro.
It was niche.
Pull it. I mean, this is the type of stuff people want on the internet.
I'm gonna find it. I'm gonna post it.
This is like when people find an old clip of Bernie Sanders saying something that later came true.
Well, he says the exact same thing.
For 40 years, he says the same thing. But it's still true.
It's still true. All right, here are the top 7. Number 1, the moment the U.S. forces got near Iran, the Middle East would light up by who? The proxies, of course. Number 2, Iran would close the Strait of Hormuz and gas prices would plummet. Psych! They would spike.
Oh, okay. Got you.
And closing the strait would be easier than anyone thought for the Iranians.
Yeah.
Number 3, airstrikes would never cause regime change. They never have. They never will. The Islamic Republic would survive if airstrikes were all you were going to do.
Check.
Number 4,
Ah!
the hardliners in Iran. And when I say hardliners, I mean the guys that were in there before were technically not as hardline as the guys in there now. The ones that survived are so bricked up hard right now they could slice a tomato.
We are the number 1 foreign policy show in the manosphere because we use the term bricked up on every single show at this point. I want someone to go find all the clips of us saying bricked up and put them all together. Thank you. I'm bricked up for getting so many bricked up.
They're so crazy there. The IRGC would get stronger, and we said that. Number 5, pulling out of the nuclear deal, the JCPOA, and going to war would flip the leverage of everything. Instead of Iran crawling back to the negotiating table, the United States now is going to have to make concessions, and they are going to have to do a lot of stuff to try to get everybody else on board.
That one's come true so hard.
Number 6, Trump has no stamina for any of this. He has no stomach for this because he has a digestive tract issue, which we all know about.
Yes, we've all heard it.
We've heard
literally, not just about it.
Yes.
You can hear it.
Anywhere. Google it. He always tacos when it counts because it's messy and the polling gets bad. Also, gas prices, bad headlines. Also, he just can't do it.
Right.
Because it's more complicated than a real estate transaction.
Yes.
Who would have thought?
Trump's got gas issues, and now he's got gas issues. Thank you. Let's
Oh,
go.
Let's go, baby. And number 7, well, you know what? You're just going to have to wait for number 7, Travis.
Oh, okay.
That's a little bit of a cliffhanger.
Well, then let's jump into the rest of it.
Let's do it. All right.
Alrighty.
So the regional blowback, the first point. Okay.
Right. You said something about proxies, and so I want to know what you mean by that.
Yeah, so we've talked about Hezbollah, the Houthis, Hamas, and stuff like that, but for 40 years, the Islamic Republic has been building out their proxies, and it's in a way that the military analysts would call a forward defense. And what that means is they don't wait for the fight to come to them,
Right.
to their borders. They take the fight to everyone else so that when something happens, they can strike so that it never gets to their borders. I found this doc from the Center for Strategic International Studies, and they documented this in a testimony all the way back in 2016.
That's 10 years ago.
They talked about how Iran operated in a gray zone between war and peace using, quote, threshold avoidance. So what that means is they would just attack just enough so that it wouldn't trigger a full conventional response. Imagine...
Oh, I see. Just little pops at ships and things like that.
Exactly. Instead of using a sledgehammer to hit you, they just poke you in the eyes or put a rake in front of you so you step on it.
A BB gun.
Yeah, exactly. Something small. But there's also a lot of talk of the new supreme leader, Mujtaba, being involved in Syria. And the IRGC, we have to remember, mobilized upwards of 115,000 fighters in Syria alone years before the war even started. So the second U.S., quote, boots on the ground were even near Iran's borders, they had a whole network beyond Hezbollah. We talked a lot about how Hezbollah's been, defanged, and these other places are, really hit hard. But they still had a lot of proxies throughout the entire region, and the U.S. just kind of overlooked that. And so the advantage for the Iranians was that when shit hit the fan, they got to use the proxies to take immediate action.
Right.
They hit the Gulf infrastructure. They hit all those U.S. bases in Iraq and also Syria. And Washington's like, wait. I mean, who would have thought they would do something like this? Weren't they going to come and just, attack Israel face on? Like, hey, let's get out the straight fisticuffs, mister.
Now no one fights anymore.
No one fights.
And they don't call it fisticuffs either.
I was thinking about this more, and it's like the Iranians were sitting there, and they were at the negotiating table for whatever reason. You could believe them or not, whatever. But it's like the U.S. and Israel and Iran got into a bar fight. The U.S. and Israel punched Iran.
Right.
And then Iran punched the United States' girlfriend. Just immediately punched the girlfriend.
Hey.
And she's like, "Whoa, I was just standing here."
I'm walking here. Oh no! Imagine this is all happening in New
And
York.
then Iran took like a glass and then hit the bar back, and the bar back's like, "I'm working here."
I see what you're saying. So it's like the fight started, and then Iran started fighting everyone else in the bar.
And then the United States and Israel look at each other like, "Why isn't anyone hitting us?"
Oh.
And it's like, no. And then now everybody in the bar is pissed at the U.S. and Israel
For starting the fight.
There we go.
Wow.
See?
Incredible. This is a great analogy. This is like, what's the Patrick Swayze movie where they're all fighting in the bars and whatnot?
Roadhouse?
Yeah. Love a good old-fashioned bar fight.
Yeah.
And it goes outside of Syria, too. When you were talking about proxies, I was immediately thinking of, like, all the proxies we've covered. There's Hezbollah in Lebanon.
Yep.
Hamas is, like, funded within the Gaza Strip, or what's left of it, by Iran. And then what's the one in Yemen?
The Houthi rebels.
The Houthi rebels.
Yeah.
It's a who's a Houthi over in Yemen. And it's like, yeah, it seems to be everywhere. But then, like you said, what we've been seeing since this invasion war that's not a war has started is that all these other countries are getting hit by Iran. They're hitting gas refineries and things that are important to all the other Arab countries' infrastructures and economies.
Yeah, exactly. And then the other part of that is that Iran doesn't even need to exercise overt command and control. They don't have to immediately tell them, hey, fire. They could just give them orders, like standing orders, that if X happens, then you should do Y, which gives them plausible deniability, gets them all these ways. I mean, we all see through it very clearly, but when it comes to how you're going to prosecute people in international courts or whatever, I mean, you could just say, hey, they like us. They're like, we didn't say it. We send them gifts. We send them gifts.
We send them money, and the gifts might be guns.
It's like the toll.
It might be drones.
Did you see the tolls? There's not going to be a toll. That Iranian guy came out. I can't remember which one of the officials it was.
He'll be dead soon anyway.
He's like, it's not a toll. It is a navigation fee to protect the environmental sanctity of the Persian Gulf. You're like, this is this guy.
Yeah, the manatee population is back in the Persian Gulf.
I mean, my man, if that's not a toll, I've got a Persian rug to sell you. Okay?
Does it fly?
It should. All right.
Okay,
now,
take it.
let's talk about the Strait of Hormuz, because we all knew that was going to happen.
All right, so this is number 2.
Number 2.
All right. Number 1 has been covered, and it makes total sense.
Yes.
The more bar fight references you can give me, the more I'll understand it.
Yes. Every single economist, Travis, every energy analyst, every naval strategist, every rug dealer. We're bringing up rugs again.
I love it. More rug references.
My father was a rug dealer, so I can say as much as I want. Knows that the Islamic Republic
that's
of
so
Iran.
Comical for a Persian man to do in Pittsburgh.
Yeah.
The rug store.
And by the way, at his funeral, all the rug guys came out.
Aww,
it was so funny.
Man,
they
great.
really came out.
I love that.
So the Islamic Republic of Iran, everyone knew that they could just stop global trade through the strait.
Yeah, every expert we've had on since this happened said this was a known.
Completely known.
Yes.
And we talked about it, of course, 120 ships on average, 14 million barrels a day, 20% of the world's petroleum, plus all the liquefied natural gas, which you were just referring to, out of Qatar and Abu Dhabi. And blink, it's all gone.
Wow.
And when we talked about this, it was Like, they had the mines, we had the drones, and they could do whatever. But what was the thing that we didn't necessarily realize was that Iran could just say, oh, is that a Baby Ruth bar in the strait or poop?
You mean like in the pool in Caddyshack?
Oh, looks like the strait is closed. We have to have an environmental cleaning.
Oh, no. Oh, that was always the worst at the city pool when it had to be closed for a reason like that.
And then is it a Baby Ruth bar? We don't know, but
Where's Bill Murray's character? Go grab it and eat it in front of everybody. And you find out it's a Baby Ruth.
But the maritime insurance companies weren't going to insure it because you got to get that Baby Ruth bar out of the strait.
Ah, man.
So the threat of it was enough to close it. Brent crude went up to $112 per barrel. We had over $5 gas.
We still do.
Yeah.
I mean, it's brutal. I was just in the Midwest driving around to the guys' shows and whatnot, and it's like it's double what I was paying in January, February.
It is. I think the pain hasn't even hit us yet. And
I agree, and that's what I've heard.
Yeah.
Not just from you, but from elsewhere, that we don't even know what's coming.
I do see that, like, I keep researching it, and people are saying that, like, it's priced into the oil prices already because it's future looking, and I'm like, I don't know. It seems like people are still way too overconfident about this stuff, but I don't know.
Yeah.
But the thing about it is not just gas, right? We're talking about the fertilizer. We're talking about a food insecurity problem for developing countries. This is like a huge thing.
Yeah.
All right, so that's that's number 2.
Right.
Okay.
That's the strait. Another thing people said would happen that's happened.
All right.
Get
Surgical strike. Yeah, I'm comfortable. Shoes are off, guys.
For the audio listeners, Seena is now sitting like it's story time, and it is story time. So let's go.
So the surgical strikes. Remember those gentle days before the war, Travis?
Last summer, you're talking a more simple time. Last summer,
when
all we did, we just went and bombed Iran, and everyone was like, "That's it. That's all we're doing."
A surgical strike,
and it's done. And we obliterated, by the way,
totally obliterated
their nuclear program, and there'll be no more.
It's obliterated, but I could go in with shovels and get the stuff.
All right. Surgical. Tell me. Give it to me straight.
We did the Venezuela. Strait of Hormuz. Come on. But we went in and out of Venezuela so easily. I think, the administration was very confident. They thought, okay, if we bomb Iran, we bomb their military infrastructure, they'll drop their arms immediately. People will come into the streets and everything will be fine.
Yep.
Here's what we said. Air campaigns do not create regime change. Every single historical case proves that. See the Iran-Iraq War. And the fact that Iran is huge, 92 million people in an area that is twice the size of Texas. It is 4 Californias.
California and Texas are real big.
Real big, brother.
For at least American states.
Exactly.
Woo!
And like we said, if you wanted to do actual regime change, not the one the president talked about, which, by the way, still the most offensive thing this man has said the entire time is, hey, Steve, I guess that is regime change, huh? I guess we got it. Is
that the most offensive thing?
For an Iranian American, I think that is like...
It's a scale for different people.
It is like... Well, imagine if you're like... I don't know. Well, let me do another bar reference here.
Oh, give it to me. Because I was thinking the most offensive thing Trump has said for me as a journalist, and that was a couple shows ago when he tweeted out the wrong witch.
Yeah.
He said like witch, like a cackling witch from Halloween instead of witch. Anyway, don't get me started. It was a grammatical error that made me upset.
That's your thing. That's your line.
Because I'm a copy editor by heart.
What a privilege.
I'm aware of how angry this makes other people that I'm angry.
Well, it's like if you got rid of Hitler and Goebbels was in there, you're like, we got regime change, guys. You're like, maybe?
Yeah, right. It's even worse. I get you.
If you wanted to do actual regime change, though, it wouldn't be Iraq 2.0. It'd be like Iraq version 20.0. You'd have to completely commit. You and I would be over there. They would have to enlist everyone. Adam would have to go over there.
They're trying.
Everyone would have to be.
We're bringing back the draft.
Henry, Eddie, Marcus.
Honestly, if I was over there with my friends, it'd be like World War II. It's like, we got Seena from Pittsburgh. We got Ronnie from Cleveland. Eddie's from Pensacola. Get him out of here.
It'd be a disaster. All right.
Yeah. We wouldn't fight very well, but we'd have a lot of great times in the trenches.
We would have some good jokes. There was some good laughs. So that's number 3. Number 4, the IRGC would have a huge windfall. And this This is also one that really upset me because
Yeah, this is incredible that again, it was predicted, but now it has happened. Please break it down. A windfall, an economic windfall for the bad guys?
economic and political windfall for the baddest of the bad guys. Okay? So before the war, you could make an argument that there was actually some sort of complexity within the Islamic Republic political system. You had the hardliners, you had your moderates. I don't say reformers because they didn't really want to reform. What you had is always like a spectrum of people that wanted to do business outside the country with varying degrees of partnership with Western countries, right?
Yeah.
And so some people want to be a hermit kingdom. Other people are like, nah, I'm not trying to do that. They all do want to oppress women. Let's just say uniformly have the mandatory hijab. That's like a no. We're all in agreement on that at the Islamic Republic.
You said suppress women, not impress women.
No, definitely no
I was
impressing.
like, did he say impress women? It's like, oh no, they just want to suppress.
No, suppress.
You
suppress.
Did
I say impress?
No, that's what I thought I heard. And I was like, oh, that makes sense.
Roll it back.
War is like one of those, like, I gotta look tough. I gotta impress these gals. But in Iran is, I gotta suppress these gals. Yeah. Okay.
And so now they also believe in this like fantastical guy called the Mahdi that is protecting them from all of this war stuff. But what you had at least were competing forces within the government. And Supreme Leader Khamenei was kind of the referee. And we all know when you have a divided government, it slows the process of everything. And we also know, having gone through everything that we're going through in the United States now, when the executive branch and Supreme Court and the legislature are all of one party, things move very quickly in a bad direction.
In a bad way.
In a bad way. And that's what's happened now. There is no more like fighting back. There's no more complexity within the system, really. The most fanatical person who now has the villain story of villain stories, where his family got wiped out, Mujtaba Khamenei, is now the supreme leader, and Pezeshkian, the president, just resigned, so he was kind of a moderate, and now it's just the IRGC running stuff, and they've removed themselves. They've now came back from the negotiating table and said, we're not doing it anymore because the U.S. and Israel, or basically Israel, are bombing southern Lebanon still.
Right. So the deal never holds because someone somewhere is always bombing somebody, and it keeps falling apart.
And now the IRGC is basically in complete control of the country.
Woo! So the hardliners have benefited.
Big time.
Yeesh.
Number 5, the leverage flip. Okay, we talked about this. Leaving the JCPOA because Trump said it was the worst deal. It was the worst deal. Worst deal.
And remind us what JCPOA.
Joint Comprehensive Plan of Action.
It was Obama's Iran deal.
Yes.
Hard worked for and then hardly maintained after.
Here's the thing that I was reminded of yesterday, that China and Russia also were at the table negotiating with the U.S. and the Europeans for the JCPOA. They're signatories to the deal. They were part of the deal.
The original Obama deal.
Guess what is not happening right now?
Oh, buddy. I think we've covered it, but go ahead and say it again.
Guess which side of the table China and Russia are on.
Yeah.
And they may not say, like, we're on Iran's side, but if you're not on the side of going against the Islamic Republic, you're clearly on their side because they're supporting them in a variety of different ways.
Including by buying their oil still.
Exactly. And here's one of the biggest issues now, is that the United States is isolated. The Europeans said, don't pull out of the deal or don't go and start a war with Iran. If you do, we will not be there to help you.
Right.
So NATO's not involved.
Right.
Europe's not involved.
Right.
We are completely...
Tony Blair?
No.
Not involved.
Not involved.
The French guy who always... There's always a different French president who supports us, but... ce n'est pas possible.
Oh,
Excusez-moi.
Oh, boy.
Pardonnez-moi. Non merci.
S'il vous plaît.
Non merci.
So the thing that is interesting here is that every president in the United States has started to be hawkish in an election year against Iran.
That goes all the way... Oh, well, not Iran, but I was going to say hawkish. That goes all the way back to Kennedy in 1960, but for the Cold War.
But then they usually kind of taco a little bit and roll it back and then can't do it or whatever.
Right. Because they were probably told all of these 7 things and more. They're like, don't do that.
And then they roll it back and they can't do it, and then they...
Right.
But Trump has been uniquely bad at all of this, mainly because I think, to your point, He's seen all these other presidents try, and he's like, I'm going to do what all these other presidents haven't been able to do.
And we know he was told that in the war room by a certain president of another country and all the sycophants around him. No one's ever done this before. You could be the first.
And for months, we have had Persian exile groups, right? People that have left Iran, the monarchists, right? The pro son of the Shah, Reza Pahlavi people, telling us that he's ready to go.
He's
to be the alternative to the Islamic
He's
Republic.
been training hard at the batting cage. He's ready to go to bat.
Because people in the streets were saying, Javid Shah, which is long live the Shah, right? But I would submit that it is not for this guy. It was just for anything but what they were experiencing in that moment.
Right. And you've said that on this show.
Yeah.
Anything would be better than the current regime, which is not the regime, but now still is the regime.
And this guy has spent his entire life outside of Iran in exile, living very comfortably. It's not like, he did like the whole Buddha thing and was just like, if my people are suffering, I will not have pleasure. Homie was at the club.
Oh, right.
Okay?
The fun club.
Bottle full
Not
of
the
bub.
bar that has the bar fight in it all the time.
No. Are you kidding? He would not be caught dead in a bar
He
like
owns
that.
that bar.
Yeah,
He just watches like,
he owns the block.
Somebody will clean it up.
Yeah. I mean, if this guy was serious, he would be on a boat in Baku, in Azerbaijan, with a bullhorn saying, we're coming for you. Like, rallying the troops. This guy didn't do anything. He just did some YouTube videos that were completely over-scripted.
Right.
Number 6, we've talked about the Taco Trump. And he didn't necessarily taco in the way that he classically did.
Right.
But he tacoed in the way that, George Bush would not have. Because Bush sent a lot of U.S. troops to die. And so Trump was like, boots on the ground. I don't know. I don't know if it's going to.
Well, and like you said, I mean, number 6 kind of relates to number 5. The leverage has flipped.
Yeah.
The Iran has played their cards that everyone said they were going to play, and now it turns out they have, as we say in a card game, the upper hand.
As arrogant and as buffoonish as Trump is, he knows the media. He knows that body bags coming home of American soldiers are bad headlines. He knows that gas is a bad headline. He knows that all of these things are bad for his popularity. And he likes to feel loved.
Yes, Lord knows.
And so Trump did what we all thought he would. When it got messy, and this is the worst thing, right? That, he should have never started the war. But he bombed, is now trying to make a deal, desperately make a deal, and do it. And then the people of Iran are going to suffer more, which leads to number 7, Travis.
Oh, my gosh.
This would be worse for the Iranian people. And this is, I got into it with a lot of people online about this.
Right.
And I've tried to say this on the show, that my trauma, my family's trauma, the trauma of the Iranian people is not good foreign policy for the United States. It's not the basis for a political project in Iran. Because when you step into that, it leads to bad decisions, right?
Yes.
The Iranian people just got through 88 days of an internet shutdown, the longest ever that's been
imagine
recorded.
if that happened in this country?
10 minutes of internet. Sometimes the internet goes down in the studio
And
here.
we lose our mind.
We are about to have a mutiny. It's about, people are like breaking doors down.
Right. Henry's ready to invade Spectrum.
Adam threw a hard drive into the sky thinking it would go to the cloud to get the footage.
Get up there. Get up there.
Go, footage.
And
Go.
It worked. He's got a powerful
Upload.
arm. Powerful arm
Upload.
on that man.
It didn't work.
Oh, it didn't work. Okay, gotcha.
So, since the war started, though, there have been over 6,000 arrests of people, of protesters, journalists, lawyers, human rights defenders, dissidents, and members of other ethnic and religious minorities. This is from Amnesty International. So,
Gotcha.
if you believed Amnesty during Gaza, then you should believe Amnesty now.
But in a way, I think, and we've talked about it, the 6,000 people being arrested, that's almost luckier than all the people, the thousands and thousands who have just been outright killed.
Yes.
Yeesh.
But the problem is those folks, the judges in Iran, are expediting lifetime sentences, torture, and executions. And they're also doing these forced confessions, which they've been doing for years in these sham trials. And since the start of the war, there have been at least 39 recorded political executions.
Yikes.
So, I wanted to leave on a high note.
But you did say this was going to happen.
Yeah.
And now here we are. And going back to point 6 and point 5, I mean, back in January, didn't Trump tweet or post on Truth Social that we are behind you?
Help is on the way.
Help is on the way. I mean, even when Israel was pitching this whole thing in the past year, they're like, we got to help the Iranian people. Operation Rising Lion was supposed to be about the people of Iran rising up in the streets and taking everything back, thanks to the airstrikes, which also didn't work. I mean, it just, to your point, all 6 of your other points led to point 7, which was this is going to be bad for Iranians.
Here's a conspiracy theory that I don't know if it'll end up being true or not because it's a conspiracy theory.
But you never know.
I haven't actually verified any of it
and
yet.
Again, because we're a conspiracy comedy network, you're allowed to say it and just be like, haha, joking.
Apparently the plan was to arm the Kurds. The Kurds go in. War starts. Airstrikes happen. Ahmadinejad gets released. And then the Kurds get Kurdistan. They get a chunk of land to call Kurdistan.
Wow.
Which, if you know the Kurdish situation, we've covered it.
We've covered it.
They want a country.
Yes.
And the problem was Erdogan from Turkey, who does not like the Kurds, called Trump and said, don't do it.
Right. And we also know how powerful Turkey is
Yeah.
when it comes to foreign relations.
And so apparently Trump pulled the plug on Kurdistan, and then they took the money and bought a bunch of Land Cruisers, LC-17s, from a place. So now a bunch of Kurds have a bunch of weapons and new 2017 Land Cruisers, which are still the V8 ones, I believe. Which are good ones.
Fun.
Those are the good ones.
The tomato juice.
Yeah. And so that's what I'm seeing. I don't know. I'm trying. We'll find out more.
I mean, but everything you just said makes total sense to me. I know it's a conspiracy theory, but it's also something that I could totally see happening.
Yeah.
Where it's like, because that is how American, when anytime, even in Vietnam, was they're like, we'll arm these people, we'll do airstrikes, and then we avoid ground troops, and then now we need ground troops.
Yeah.
And it's just like it's just every situation. Do we not learn from history, sir?
No,
Do we not learn from what the experts say was going to happen the entire time? Now you got armed Kurds. I mean, this does feel like a bar fight. It's just completely gone haywire.
It is funny, though. You get into a bar fight, you just punch the guy's girlfriend.
Well, I mean, not actually funny,
No,
but in theory,
yes.
yes.
You get it. You get what I'm saying.
Yes. No, your analysis made sense. And then the bar back gets hit, and you're like, I'm just working. I'm here to clean up the peanut shells.
And then you just take the jukebox and, like, pull it down and break
Somebody's
it.
head's
and
going
then
through
the
the
whole
jukebox.
bar is like, you asshole.
Welcome to the
Why
Middle
did you
East,
do
a.k.a. the far West Asia.
All right, guys. Woo! I honestly, when we came into the studio today, I was like, it's going to be a short intro segment.
Nah.
We're back.
We're back.
Let's take a quick break, and when we come back, we're going to talk about China and these AI chips, a little boating excursion with Vietnam, and some other stuff. This is the Foreign Report for Travis and Seena. We'll be right back. Welcome back to the Foreign Report. I'm Seena Ghaznavi, Travis Irvine here. Woo-hoo-hoo! We are not in a bar fight.
No, not yet. Not till later.
That would be nice. Should we go to a bar and get... Have you ever been in a bar fight?
Oh, buddy. I'm usually the guy punching the bar back. Not the guy's girlfriend.
No.
I would never.
I would
but
never,
that bar
of
back,
course.
he's been eyeballing me all night.
Yeah, just 'cause-
grabbing my empties before they're empty. You get out of here.
I was technically in a bar fight one time. My buddy tried to dance with another guy's girl.
That'll do it.
And I didn't know I was
That's usually how bar fights start.
Yeah. And so then the guy came over and he started a fight with my friend. And so they were like kind of going to the ground. And I'm a very excitable guy.
It's Pittsburgh or New York?
This is actually in Santa Barbara.
Whoa. Okay, now that checks out. I'm outside of LA, California's Wild West.
It was wild. So I go over, like I'm gonna help out, right?
Mm-hmm.
And immediately I am snatched up by a bouncer that is 22 times bigger than me.
Yeah.
And bro, I don't even think, like, did he use two hands? Potentially. He just grabbed me and picked me up and then just gently walked me out of the bar because I didn't even get a chance to throw a punch or anything.
Yeah.
He just walked me out of the bar, placed me on the sidewalk. He's like, "You're out," and I was like,
You're
"Wow,
done.
wow."
So you weren't in a bar fight.
Well, I was in it.
You were
I was
physically
in.
picked up
Yeah,
And
In and out.
Yeah. And then, yeah, that makes sense. I actually talked about this when Henry and Ed did a Side Stories up in Columbus, Ohio, my hometown. They did the Newport, which is the venue where I went to one of my first concerts at 16.
Yeah.
And my friends, like, they had fake IDs, so they had gotten like a pitcher of beer. And I was handed a friend's beer while he tied his shoe. I looked like a child because I was. And I remember a big hand just grabbed me. I was like, what? And I dropped the beer. And the same deal. Giant bouncer just like, you can't drink here. And I'm like, I wasn't drinking. He's like, I don't care. And that was my bar fight, I guess.
There you go.
Because then I just had to hang outside a Doors cover band concert for the rest of the night.
That was your bar jihad.
In a way.
All right.
It was.
So, Travis, maybe I can't remember how long ago, but we covered Trump and China and that visit that he did with Xi. That
it could have been years ago, but it's also probably just a month ago.
Yeah, I think so. And that we agreed as the United States to sell the second most advanced chips to China, the Nvidia chips, right? And Jensen Huang, we had him on the Dwarkesh podcast talking about how important that was for him and all this stuff. And I loved all the comments, by the way, that people told me about, because I don't read the comments, of course.
No.
But that was like really interesting. And I was like, okay, this is like a real debate that's happening. And then, of course, this story comes up. And suddenly, the U.S. has blocked NVIDIA AI chips from reaching Chinese firms worldwide. And I was like, wait a minute, didn't we just agree to this? So it turns out when Biden was leaving office, there was this rule where they said, we're not going to send chips, advanced chips, like the top-level chips, to China and China-based subsidiaries. So if you had a Chinese company in Malaysia, that Malaysian company that is basically a Chinese company couldn't order the top line NVIDIA chip and then have it shipped to them.
Gotcha.
Okay?
Okay, makes sense.
When Trump got into office, he said, we're not doing that.
Okay.
So,
man, this guy just loves ripping up deals that he didn't do.
Exactly. So the time between May 2025, when they stopped enforcing Biden's policy of that, and now experts say that over 100,000 chips may have found their way into China.
Oh, boy.
A fact that a State Department official, Chris McGuire, calls, quote, a huge problem.
Yeah, it sounds like a big problem.
Bro, all of this talk of don't give China the advanced AI chips. Whatever you do, don't give them. We even made a deal to give them the second most advanced. We've actually been giving them the most advanced chips.
It's just like the Gremlins where you don't feed them after midnight and you give them a full course meal. Here's all the food, little gremlin. Don't go crazy.
And they called it a loophole, which is funny. The Trump administration said we're closing this loophole. It's like, my man, this wasn't a loophole. You had a rule. You had a thing. You had a very clear export control that would have.
It's a loophole. It's a hole in a loop. You see
this like personality-based diplomacy that we do now.
I don't even know if you call it that.
I just made up this term.
Yeah,
but it is. Personality is the way that things get done. If you're the top of the food chain or whatever agency and you've got attitude with Biden, you're like, no, I'm not doing anything Biden wants to do.
Right.
It's just incredible to me. And then there was this other story that happened a couple weeks ago that's kind of very similar. In another complete reversal, Trump is now saying that he's sending 5,000 troops to Poland.
Poland? The motherland of Henry Zabrowski?
Exactly. But apparently, days before that, they said they were not going to send 4,000 troops to Poland.
Yeah. Okay. I'm growing a loophole in my brain right now. What?
And so Poland said, we just spent the better part of 2 weeks reacting to the first announcement of them reducing the troops. We don't know what this means either.
This is just a micro example of the Trump foreign policy as a whole. It's like we're not going to do it. We're not going to do it.
No, we're not going to do it.
And we said 5,000, but it's actually 50.
And then I'm going to go on Truth Social and do it all caps.
Right, and it's all caps. And then
God.
And then that was actually just a ruse. And then he
I'll be honest, I get thrown for this because I look as a smart guy, I'm like, oh, this is like a thing that's complex to look at. And I'm like, no, this fool just it's actually Occam's razor. It's the dumbest, simplest reason.
Right.
No one's talking, no one's doing anything. They just are doing policy by personality.
Yeah. Interesting. Okay. Now your term makes sense. This is
If you're in a bar, no, just kidding.
Yes. You're in a bar and there's a Polish guy and like, I'm going to buy you 50 beers. And then he's like, oh God, I better be ready. And then you buy him no beers.
And then he's like, you're going to buy me 50 beers, right?
Right. And then you're like, yeah, I guess I am.
Bar
back, get over here. And then you punch the bar back.
All right. And now this last story I found to be super interesting. I don't know. For this show has given me the great gift of learning about maritime problems and issues.
Okay. Here we go.
So ship tracking data has revealed a hidden risk of a China Vietnam showdown. Okay, so for the YouTube people, I'm showing a map so you can see that. But for the audio folks, I'm going to describe it. Don't sweat. China has been quietly, and I guess you could also say not so quietly, assert its dominance over the South China Sea, which is, right where Taiwan is.
That's been happening for a while, even during the Obama administration. They'd send some military ships out there, and people would be like, ooh, don't do that, and then it didn't matter, but now here we are.
Exactly, Travis. Exactly. And now this is now starting to escalate. So let me just take people through this. So there was this boat... On October 31st, 2022, a Chinese Coast Guard ship 5205.
Ooh, for the visual audience, there's some neat graphics happening right now.
Yes. They left port, and it's one of Beijing's biggest ships. Okay, so big ship leaves port. All of a sudden...
Military ship?
It's a Coast Guard ship.
Okay.
Right? So,
it's more defense than offense.
Military light.
Sure.
But still, it's doing stuff. And it's changing direction 5 months later.
Okay. Explain to us what's happening here on the map.
And on the map, you could see that this is where the ship ends up changing direction and changing course to.
It appears to be zigzagging a lot.
And the green dots that you see on the map are all Vietnam or Vietnamese occupied features. Now, occupied features in the ocean are sandbars, are platforms, or any sort of area that is claimed by Vietnam, right? And within a certain area, right, you're allowed to claim anything from the shore, right? I think it's 25 miles, I believe, nautical miles.
Okay.
So by the end of 2025, the ship passed within 10 nautical miles of nearly 30 features in the South China Sea claimed by Malaysia, the Philippines, Taiwan, and increasingly Vietnam.
Okay.
So basically, a foreign ship does a drive-by too close for comfort for a lot of other countries' islands.
Got you.
And those islands aren't vacation islands. They have helipads, military capabilities. They're launching pads and stuff like that. This is a move that China's been doing. The Chinese vessels have significantly ramped up their presence in those areas. There's these 3 islands of interest because they house new fortified garrisons and harbors. And Vietnam is actually a country that has been building up these islands and outfitting them with military equipment so that they could stand up to a potential aggressive maneuver from China. So you can see all of these. Let me see if I can zoom in a little bit.
Yeah, get in there. This is very Cold War-esque.
Yeah. So
it's just all the other countries are preparing for something that could happen, but we're all saying that it'll never happen.
Exactly. And look, all the red is this Chinese ship that's going, and then you could see all the other colored circles are ways you could see the lines crossing over them, right?
So on the map I'm looking at it, the green dots are closer to Vietnam, so it makes sense that would be Vietnam's territory. And then the blue dots that's closer down to Malaysia.
Yeah.
And that's their territory, which makes sense. It reminds me, as a simpleton from Ohio, Lake Erie, where halfway through Lake Erie, there's little buoys and stuff that there's Canada on the Canada side. They claim some of those. And then on the United States / Ohio side, little islands and stuff like that each country claims. And China's just in the middle of Lake Erie right now, zigzagging around on a jet ski.
And so one of the things I noticed is that China has this opportunity or this great ability to just do whatever it wants, but in a very small way, and then just watch what everyone does in reaction. Right? They can just wait and see. And then they're seeing that how are all these other countries reacting. Here's the other big part. Those islands that they were doing drive-bys of, they carry, that area, that strategic corridor, carries roughly $4 billion in global trade. And that's for fishing, but also for untapped oil and natural gas reserves.
Oh, and we all know how hot that is right now.
Very hot.
China is specifically in need of more oil.
Wen Tai Fong, a maritime security expert at the University of New South Wales who researches Vietnam's military, said, quote, "The strategy is meant to beef up Vietnam's deterrence capability in the sense that Vietnam could more efficiently deploy our forces against any aggressive tactics by the Chinese. Expanding those islands is an activity that has the potential to increase the chance of a maritime confrontation."
Yikes.
This is this idea of like, if everyone starts getting armed, then everyone's got their finger on the trigger.
Yep. Yeah, no, it's Cold War-esque. And I remember before Biden left office, one of his last big trips that he made personally, and they sent Antony Blinken over there too, was Australia, Japan. It was talking about security specifically in this area and arming little countries, like you're saying, just little garrisons and things like that for Vietnam, Malaysia, Philippines, etc., is part of a greater strategy of containment for the big boogeyman, which obviously down there, it's China.
It's crazy how they're all making these small moves.
Small maneuvers.
Yeah, I find this super interesting because Vietnam, I don't know much about it, but from reading this and learning about it, they've been beefing up their naval and air defenses. They could actually like give China a bloody nose. Remember, China hasn't really been in a naval war, right? So they don't have a lot of experience. So if it did pop off, mistakes would be made, presumably.
Oh, Lord. And Vietnam, I mean, you may not know much about the history there, but I can tell you when America got involved in Vietnam.
How did that go?
It went really bad. Bloody nose, big time.
Yeah, I would say
it's
so.
More than a bar fight. It's burned down the whole neighborhood.
So I like tracking these maritime moves. Now we have all this information where we can actually see where ships are. It's all open source and stuff. So more to come from this part of the world. And again, as China's supply of oil maybe dwindles, or, you know, where they're going to get it, or if they're able to keep getting it from Iran through the strait that has a Baby Ruth bar in it, they will, you know, escalate things potentially.
Absolutely. And you know, we used to say in the Bahamas, where I used to work, if it's a maritime, it's going to be a merry time for all.
All right. Well, when we come back, it's everyone's favorite segment, the JD Vance Corner. I'm Seena Ghaznavi for Travis Irvine. We'll be right back after this. Welcome back to the Foreign Report, your weekly foreign policy show that gives you all the gory details of geopolitics with hopefully some laughs along the way. I'm Seena Ghaznavi, Travis Irvine, and now it is time for...
Give him a chance, it's JD Vance. No, wait, he sucks.
Club remix, ladies and gentlemen. See, that's where I got the idea for my intro music just being air horns. It's from the JD Vance Corner jingle.
We go.
Well, good. We have to keep this thing going on JD Vance. We are slowly, Seena, accumulating more and more evidence every week for over a year now of why JD Vance sucks.
Oh, I thought you were going to say he's a genius.
No, he still sucks.
Oh, God.
For the last few weeks especially, we've been talking about, foreign policy is one thing. That's one side of the world. JD Vance has been kept out of it. Take your Diet Mountain Dew, you go to a different room, and now he's rooting out the fraud domestically, supposed fraud in Medicaid, Medicare, and other places all around the United States. And here's the thing. Fraud from the federal government, when you get a program, it is real.
Yeah.
Somebody will go and apply for a benefit that they actually don't need, and that does happen. It happens everywhere, not just blue states, blue cities. It's happened for decades and decades. My mom used to be a Medicaid, Medicare investigator for the state of Ohio. You go and you find out if the person is actually using the money correctly, things like that. It's a real thing, and it's a part of, the world we live in when government money's going out there. Well, so JD has been really targeting these blue states, but guess who's not being a part of the conversation about fighting fraud in the blue states? the Democratic Attorney Generals.
Oh.
And by Attorney Generals, I mean Attorneys General,
Right.
another grammatic thing that you have to understand when you get a degree in journalism. So this is just so bonkers to me. JD, again, because he's confined to handling things at home while Marco is gallivanting around the world. JD held a big old meeting regarding fraud, and it was only with Republican attorneys general from around the country, and he had them all at the White House. And Democrat AGs rightfully were like, well, hold on, why aren't we there? We fight fraud. Letitia James.
Oh, they weren't even invited?
Here's the thing. This is what's so crazy. They were like, okay, so we weren't invited and we wanted to be there, and we do fight fraud. Letitia James from New York, very famous.
Yeah.
She is actually like, I have people in my office who do this. We get settlements of millions and millions of dollars. We find the fraud and we prosecute and we investigate, and like we are fighting fraud. And here's the thing. What ended up happening is that JD's office said that the invite did go out, but it went out the day of.
Oh my God.
Of the meeting.
You stop it.
Yeah, this is the thing. So it was like, we did invite you, but it was literally like, oh, your invitation was not just lost in the mail. We sent it via a partiful text or whatever those things are, where we had it during the day. Didn't you get it? Didn't you get that? And of course,
Did you check your spam?
did you check your spam folder? And of course, none of the Democrat AGs got it in time. Apparently, it was just everyone who's anyone in terms of Republican attorneys general were there from Republican states, but the Democrats just, I guess, it was short notice. And here's the thing. JD goes out there, and this is why I hate JD so much. He goes out there and he says, I've said repeatedly, this does not need to be a partisan effort. And he even goes out there and says, even fully as his people say, oh, I guess apparently Democrat AGs like Keith Ellison in Minnesota and Letitia James in New York, they aid and abet these scams and fraud. They don't fight them, right?
He said that?
No, his people said that.
Oh.
The Republican Attorneys General Association spokesperson said that. So they set this whole meeting up, didn't invite the Democrats, but AK did in a very small basis, and then rolled it all out to say, oh, this should be a partisan deal, but it's not because the Democrats don't care. So the only people apparently got there in time for the meeting were representatives for the attorneys general in Connecticut and Oregon. So those are the only Democrats in attendance in this whole meeting.
Oregon.
Thank you.
Yeah, they're gonna come after you.
I appreciate that.
Yeah.
I need to be come after more. So anyway, that
is the day of.
the day of, bro. Politico, they reported on the letter because the Democrat AGs, like, they put out a letter saying, hey, we want to be a part of this and we're not. And then it was literally just like, oh, they were invited too late because the Republicans all received invitations days and days earlier. And initially the event was only supposed to include them. And then I suppose because of the blowback, then the White House and JD Vance's team walked it back. It was like, oh, there was an email.
Oh my God.
There's a text that went out day of.
Man, I think I have a failure of imagination for how awful this guy
Well,
is.
it gets even worse. NBC News did a terrible puff piece on the guy. Do you remember this book that JD wrote that made him famous in the first place?
Hillbilly Elegy?
Yes. There's
I'm
a
tempted
sequel.
to read.
There's a sequel
What?
coming out, brother. Get ready. June 16th. And NBC News, oh, God, they're so good at rolling out the red carpet for this guy. They gave him a whole puff piece here on what the book is about. Would you like to know what the book's about?
No, actually, no, please don't.
I have to tell you.
No.
Because if I don't tell you now, the book's going to be out in like 14 days.
Oh, God.
So it's called Communion. And it's a follow-up to the 2016 book, Hillbilly Elegy, that made JD famous in the first place. Guess what? It's about the role of faith in his life. And do you remember, we've talked in this show about how he threw his wife under the bus for not being Catholic.
Yeah.
And it's like, well, she might convert. I hope she converts. And it's like, she's not going to convert. He really talks up their relationship and how it's important for him to have, he converted. He went from Protestant to atheist to Catholic.
Okay.
Right? For the politics, of course. He became a Catholic specifically so he could get involved in politics. And he wanted Usha to come with him on the Catholic journey. And she's like, nah, dog, that's you. So he really talks up. And again, this is what you have to do. If you're preparing to run for president in 2 years, you need to defend your marriage, protect your faith, and write a book about it. Because books are what, as this guy knows, is what made him famous in the first place. So the book is called Communion. It will be on shelves, unfortunately, in like this month, June. And it's interesting because he's thrown his wife under the bus, and now he's like, oh, I should protect my wife. And then also he throws in some talk about Rubio and his relationship with Rubio, that they're great friends. Because everyone,
classic
including
opposites, like you're telling on yourself so much.
JD's so good at like when one thing's happening, he says it's not happening, and then that makes sure you know it's happening.
Tell me the foreword is by Erica Kirk. Tell me, please.
I'm sure maybe she gets a quote on the back. Like, JD feels nice when you hug him, and he's very comforting when your husband gets killed. I don't know what. She is actually not mentioned in this article, but Rubio very publicly, again, because JD and Rubio, and when we say it could be Rubio JD in 2028, we say that because Trump's saying that.
Oh, yeah.
Trump's going down there saying, like, which one? Who's it gonna be? And he does like a poll of the audience in front of him. And again, this is how you know there's a problem, because JD says there's not a problem. JD says they're very good friends, and that likely what will happen, and he says Marco is supposedly on this train as well. And again, JD plays coy because he's not a candidate yet. It'll be JD top of the ticket, Marco as VP. And then it's a unity thing, and it's not them fighting each other, duking it out. But again, like you've said, when JD says there's not a problem, it usually means there's a problem.
You think Marco's going to accept VP?
Yeah, Marco actually says in this article, and he's been asked about it before, that he would support JD for president. So in that realm, but that's the thing. If someone dangled it in front of Marco and said, yo, JD's going to lose, would you like to take?
Because that would be the big, today until he decides to run.
But that's the big reason that, again, people would say JD doesn't run for president, is because he's already going to have all this stuff hung around his neck anyway. Yeah. And that's why he loses. And Marco can be like, well, I had nothing to do with all the domestic problems. I was out there trying to solve international problems. And that ties into my last point of today's JD Vance Corner. This is a rumor.
How could it get worse?
From our friends over at Appalachia, a great podcast out of Appalachia. A wild rumor. Someone that they trust who works at JP Morgan. The buzz is that Trump has been exploring ways to force Vice President out of office before 2028 because he cannot run him. And to prove this, from our friends over at The Rooster in Ohio, which is dealing with some anti-GOP shenanigans right now this week, but Donald Trump routinely humiliates J.D. Vance for breaking the Ohio State National Champions Trophy in public and in private. And because of this, as we know, Trump, he knows talent when he sees talent.
Yeah.
That's talent. Wow, what a hot guy. What a hot piece of ass, as he said about his wife. He is convinced, he talks about this moment over and over, that because JD did that and he dropped the trophy, he doesn't have the riz, he doesn't have the juice to become the presidential candidate.
Can't argue with the president.
And that's the thing. I finally agree with Donald Trump. So keep dropping that trophy, JD, because if you do, I guarantee Donald Trump will drop you from 2028.
Wow. That was incredible. Thank you, Travis.
Around the horn.
That was
with
incredible.
JD. It just, I want to thank everyone who keeps sending me articles about JD. I do see them, and I will talk about them.
That was an emotional roller coaster.
Thank you. We are so back.
That's the show for today. Make sure you sign up for our newsletter that comes out every Friday.
I have a show in LA I want to plug real quick.
Yes,
for all our fans in Los Angeles, I'll be at the Lyric Hyperion on Saturday, June 13th. It's the night before Flag Day, so we're calling the show Flag Night. And the Lyric Hyperion, if you don't know, great comedy venue. We'll have some of our friends, James Adomi and Nick Vatterott, and we'll be showing my documentary about running for mayor. So
amazing.
We're trying to inspire people, again, to just get involved in any way you can, because if we don't, then these jerkholes like J.D. Vance and Donald Trump keep winning.
Yep.
So let's get in there. And we can laugh while we do it.
Amazing. Please see Travis live and sign up for the newsletter. Find us on socials. And we'll see you guys next week.